The iPad Pro 13-inch, the 2024 edition, is the best tablet Apple has ever made, full stop. And the company's thrown everything into it. You get an amazing OLED screen, a powerful M4 chip, and a ridiculously thin and light design. And if money is no object, this is an incredible tablet. However, for most of us, money is an object, and a very important one. And it is hard to justify the huge price tag unless you also will be using this as a laptop or a desktop replacement for serious creative workloads. If you want just a tablet for relaxing on the couch and scrolling through the web, this probably isn't for you. I'd suggest you check out the new iPad Air 2024 edition instead. Now, let's talk a little bit about price and availability. This starts at $1,299 for a 256GB model with 8 GB of RAM. As for the dimensions, it's 281.6 millimeters by 215.5 millimeters by 5.1 millimeters thin. Now that makes this the thinnest device Apple has ever made. It weighs about 1.3 pounds. There's so much that's different here from the previous iPad Pro, from the exquisitely thin design to the tandem OLED screen, and from the moved Face ID camera to our very first M4 Apple Silicon experience. Now, we've since seen an M4 Pro and an M4 Max on a new line of MacBooks, iMacs, and Mac Minis. As I said, at 5.1 millimeters thick, this is the thinnest device Apple's ever made, yet it doesn't feel flimsy. You won't feel like you're handling a delicate artifact that could shatter at any moment. It's a beautiful combination of glass and recycled aluminum. I will say that the back doesn't do a great job of deflecting fingerprints, but I'm not sure you'll care. The iPad Pro 13-inch has 4 built-in speakers, along with 4 microphones. And on the right-hand side, you have the volume control, and the power is on the top. At the bottom is a Thunderbolt 3 USB 4 port that can be used for charging and connecting to peripherals such as USB-C monitors or external hard drives with data transfer speeds of up to 40 gigabits per second. Let's talk a little bit about the iPad Pro 13-inch display because it's not just big, it's a big deal. It's larger than its 12.9-inch predecessor and has a higher resolution, 2420 by 1668, and it uses tandem OLED technology, which means 2 OLED panels stacked on top of each other that provide higher contrast and brightness than previous Pro models. The brightness is now 1600 nits for HDR content, and the contrast ratio is 2,000,000 to 1. This is a colorful, bright, and responsive display, in part thanks to the ProMotion technology that automatically adjusts refresh rates down from all the way down to 10 Hz, all the way up to a buttery smooth 120 Hz. Movies, streaming, gaming, TV, web browsing, pro-level apps like Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro, image editing platforms, all of it looks great on this big iPad screen. Unlike the back, the screen does have fingerprint-resistive oleophobic coating. Let's talk about the cameras. The iPad Pro 13-inch has a 12-megapixel camera on the rear and a 12-megapixel ultra-wide FaceTime camera on the front. There's also on the back a LiDAR camera. Now, there's good news and bad news in these lenses. The good news is that the 12-megapixel ultra-wide camera has been moved from here to here, which means that when you use the iPad Pro in landscape orientation, the camera's at the top of the screen. This makes video calls much more comfortable and intuitive. Also, logging in via Face ID, that feels easier as well. This is a design upgrade that many iPad Pro owners have been asking for years, and it's a welcome change. Why isn't the camera array great news though? Well, you might notice that the new iPad Pro comes with one less rear camera. That's right, the iPad Pro 13-inch and the 11-inch model no longer have the ultra-wide camera found on the previous models. Apple hasn't explained why they removed it, though it is possible they did it just to make sure they can make this as slim as possible. As for how the cameras work, we are very impressed with the excellent details found in shots we took using the front and rear cameras. The lack of an ultra-wide camera, that's a shame, but honestly, how often will you be shooting a variety of shots with this relatively large tablet when you probably have an iPhone in your pocket. By the way, the LiDAR camera on the back is great for 3D scans of rooms and furniture. It can also help some apps with spatial awareness. It's a nice pro-level extra. Now let's talk about performance. This was the first time we saw Apple's new M4 chip, which is since migrated and upgraded to the iMac, MacBook Pro, and Mac Mini. Now, according to Apple, the new M4 iPad Pro boasts a 20% better thermal performance, while offering 4 times the rendering performance of the previous model. It also offers 50% faster CPU performance compared to the M2 chip. Again, this is all according to Apple. The base M4 is a 9-core CPU with a 10-core GPU and a 16-core neural engine. Put simply, this is more than enough horsepower for most tablet-grade apps, but it's also up to the task of pro-grade apps like Logic Pro, Adobe Lightroom, and Final Cut Pro, which we ran all at once. Now, these tasks we would typically perform on a Mac were easily done on the iPad Pro 13-inch. Even as it was doing all this, the tablet never got hot or slowed down performance to manage the load. As for software, iPadOS 18 feels more and more like the midpoint between a tablet and a desktop platform. It supports multi-window multitasking, though still not as flexible as macOS. And it does work well with external monitors and the Smart Keyboard Folio cover, all of which makes the iPad feel more like a touchscreen laptop. Along with new apps like Passwords, updates to Siri, home screen customizations, Smart Script, and the awesome machine learning enhancements like Math Notes, the new iPad Pro 13-inch supports Apple Intelligence, Apple's brand of artificial intelligence that gets more and more powerful every week. Even though the iPad Pro doesn't ship with an Apple Pencil, which charges when attached to the top of the iPad, it's still a worthwhile investment, as is that keyboard, which makes this pro-level package feel complete. There are few better digital creation and imagination platforms than the iPad Pro 13-inch. It's a fantastic large canvas for drawing, painting, sketching, writing, and note-taking. Speaking of the pencil, together with the iPad, it supports pressure, tilt, and more recently, hover. Battery life on the iPad Pro 13-inch was an unexpected pleasant surprise. Apple promises 10 hours of web surfing, but we got more than 14 hours. That M4 is powerful and efficient. This is simply an incredible tablet, ready to handle some seriously heavy workloads, including video editing and music production, while also being stunningly thin and light. Is it expensive? Sure. Is it worth it? Definitely. Everything I discussed here is linked in the video description, along with the best pricing available for the Apple iPad 13 Pro. If you have any questions or want more product reviews, message us in the comments below.